Hi, old guy in shed here. Today I'm going to talk about my Norge, or Norge, whichever it is. But before I sort of talk about it, I'll give you a little look around it and explain one or two bits and pieces, and then we'll crack on. Here we go. Okay, here she is, the Norge. It's a 2014 model. I've had this from new. I have been all over Europe on it a few times. I've been to Italy 3 or 4 times on it. I've been to Ypres a couple of times on it, Bruges. I've done the Normandy landings on it. I've been to Scotland a couple of times on it. It is really a piece of kit that will give you miles and miles and miles of long-legged usage. And it really is just a good touring machine. It ain't the greatest thing on earth, but there again, you know, you turn on the ignition here, and it gives you this wonderful sort of starting up sequence that they go through. It's all a bit of fun. On here we have like a little computery thing, tells you bits and pieces like your servicing and what have you, how many miles you've done and the temperature and Lord knows what else. Stuff I really don't interest myself in too much. I just ride the bike. So she's quite neat. It's quite neat. I've fitted it with this you're not going to get lost device, which is really good. It's the Garmin, which hardwires into the system. There is wiring there for you, just under the tank here. And it sounds very easy to do, but it really isn't. It's a pain in the arse because you've got to take a lot of the fairing off to get under the tank. They didn't make it that easy. This is the GT 8-valve model. Well, that means a great lot with Guzzi. It's the Quattro Valvole, whatever that is. That's the 4-valve head, so it's the 8V. It is a hell of an engine. I get annoyed with it. I'll explain that as we go along. 2 huge discs, which are Brembos, which are excellent. One of my pet hates with it is this monster silencer. I just think it's a bit ugly, and certainly not what I would have expected from the Italians with their design. We have the other side, which is exactly the same, which is pretty good. We've got this CARC rear end. There is a great big name for it, but basically it's a paralever. It's what BMW call paralever, but their version of it works very, very well. On the handlebars here, we have an ABS cancelling button. Now, if you do cancel the ABS button, the moment you turn the engine off and back on again, it re-engages the what do you call it, the ABS. One of the things I don't like, again, one of the other minor, it's nothing, is the switch for the hazards only works with the ignition on, which I think is a bit dumb. This button here and its counterpart here are the windscreen. This section of the windscreen comes up and down, which I find really good because I put it up on the motorway, take it down on the A roads, and it works really, really well. I have to say, a good visibility from the mirrors. Never have a problem seeing what's coming up behind me. It's got this quite aggressive look to the front end. I think it's quite aggressive. It is reminiscent of a lot of Japanese machinery, I know that. But then again, nobody really designed a TV with a screen at the back. So when they get these new sort of clever lights, they all go for the same sort of thing. The built-in sort of faired-in indicators are quite nice. It's a nice touch with the model name here of Norge, or Norge, or whatever it is you want to call it. Really nicely finished bike. When I consider the miles I've done on this, you know, it's up the 40,000 mile mark. All this stuff still works beautifully, still looks good. it's really comfortable. This is a bike you can do 500 mile a day on, and I have. I've literally done 500 mile a day on it without any problems, comfort-wise. Kind of stopped doing that these days because the upper management on the back of the bike shouts at me, and I've got to reduce those a bit. One thing I will say, the added extra that I've put on this bike, and I honestly believe it should come standard, is the hugger. The amount of rubbish that saves on your back end suspension unit, which is tucked up under there, it is tremendous. It is a fantastic piece of kit. Highly recommend it. But that really is, on the motorcycling side of it, is the only added extra. The obviously the sat nav is what I put on. I do have all three cases for this. That's why I've got this huge big back carrier. It has a very large box that goes on the back, and it's really very, very good. So that's a brief sort of going over of the Norge. That's kind of what it's about. I think it's a handsome looking bike. Not everybody does. Each to their own, I guess. I do enjoy riding it, which is quite interesting in itself as a ride. And I think the explanation that's to follow will explain all of that. Talking about the Norge, this is my most modern bike. Bought this brand new, like I said. Love it to bits. Fabulous thing to own. I had the Breva before it, the 1100 Breva. Loved that. Thought that was a tremendous motorbike as well. Identical frame, but without all the fairing, and it had the slightly smaller engine that has the 4 valves. Loved it. Went over to Italy on that, did all across France on it. Absolutely did Bruges on it. Absolutely fabulous motorbike. Did Germany on it. Loved it to bits. It was a good bike. And when I came to swap out, I went for the upgraded version with the fairing and the 8 valve engine, what have you. I'm not sure that this engine's any better. I'm really not. I don't think you get a huge hike in performance. I think on paper it's a little bit better. I do believe it to be a noisier engine once it gets hot and tick over, due to the high cams and the chains and all that clattering underneath you. And you don't really hear it until you stop at traffic lights or something. I think you hear it more on this than say the Stelvio, because of the all the fairings and what have you. Bounces the sound up. And I find it irritating. It's not doesn't degrade the bike at all. It's just me, and perhaps the range at which my ears work. I don't know, but it's one hell of a bike to ride. It really is. It's not a Tonti frame. Everybody goes on about the wonderful Tonti frame, which is a good frame. I liken the Tonti frame to, say, the featherbed, Norton featherbed, which was then superseded by Commando with the, I don't know if those of you that had the rubber mounted engine and swing arm unit and all that all in one piece. Well, this is kind of, it's not similar, it's not rubber mounted in that way, but what it is there is no chassis underneath it. None at all, unlike the Tonti frame. No chassis under there at all. From the headstock, bars either side, pick up the engine and gearbox back here, job done. And then this is part of the chassis, and it's like subframes all the way around with the spine down the back, across its back rather, underneath the tank. And it's surprisingly rigid as a setup. And two up, it's just handled, well, a lot of that depends on your passenger, of course. I happen to have a very good passenger. She's been riding bikes with me for the last 40 odd years, and she has a license herself, so He understands how bikes work, so as a passenger, fantastic. And like I say, we go on holiday on this thing, and we've just had great trips and great journeys. Went over the St Bernard's Pass and avoided going through the Mont Blanc tunnel, and it was faultless, absolutely faultless. It's not heavy to manoeuvre around hairpins. As you can see, it is quite a light looking bike. And you sort of look under here and there's nothing there. You know, there is nothing there. The plastic's quite light, tank's light. You know, the whole bike is, especially when you consider you've got to put in enough gear and kit to get you across on holiday for 2 weeks, and all the bits and pieces you need to have with you for that. Other little things, it has heated grips, which I absolutely love. I'll never have a big tourer without heated grips ever again in my life. They're just brilliant. Even for things like in summer when you don't need the heat, but if you go through a rain shower, you can just pop them on, and it seems to dry the gloves out quick, and you don't get that horrible tingly coldness in your fingers, which I think that might come with age. But then again, it's really, really good for it. Like I say, I love the bike. If anything, any real criticisms, I would say the rear tyre wear is quite high, although that could be me. Again, that could be me and not the bike. It's not sophisticated. A friend of mine has a Pan-European, and wow, that thing's got whistles and bells and very sort of civilised machine. This does give you the feeling that it's a bit more raw, not as civilised, sophisticated, call it what you like, but it really is, it's a joy. It talks to you, it pops and bangs and gets on with the job and cruises beautifully and handles well. You can pitch into corners with confidence. It's just a nice thing. I don't know, I read somewhere on the internet, I don't know how much you believe what's on the internet. You're listening to this on the internet. Perhaps I should shut up. I read somewhere that the famous Guzzi wind tunnel, and they were the first motorcycle company in the world to use a wind tunnel to develop racing motorways. And this was developed in it. Well, I've been over there, and I've done the tour of the factory, and I've been around it, and we spent a couple of days over there. They have this wonderful open weekend, and it's just a huge Motor Guzzi party, and it's fabulous. And I looked at the wind tunnel, and it's very, very interesting, don't get me wrong. It's historically interesting, engineeringly it's interesting, etc, etc, etc. But it doesn't look like it's been used in a hell of a long time. So whether that is an urban myth about the fairing, or whether it's true, I don't know, and I'm not prepared to do it. Other wonderful things about it are, as I said, the brakes. They are superb. And they are little fingertips on the front, and they're not linked like the little 350 or some of the earlier Guzzis had these link brakes. This doesn't. They are just literally very traditional front brake, rear brake. But they do such a magnificent job. Can't fault the braking. I've had no problems with this bike whatsoever. The only problem I had, which wasn't a problem with the bike, bless it, it was when it was new. It was about 8-10 months old. I had an incident in the rain, absolutely flooded roads, into a pothole. I was doing about 10-15 miles an hour, spat me off, broke the collarbone, and did all sorts of damage to the plastics. That's all it did, damage to the plastics. The company that my insurance company insisted it went to took bloody months to get it back, and it was literally a week before I was due to go on holiday. I ran months, where the hell's my motorbike? And they said, oh, it's all here, it's already, but we've got a problem with the getting hold of the one of the mirrors. So they've sent the wrong mirror, had a different stem length here. And I said, well, is the original mirror broken? No, it's just got a couple of scratches on the back. So put it on with the old mirror, get it back to me, I'll accept it. So they did that, brought it back, I accepted it. I found out what it was. I think when this was sent out the factory, these are Stelvio mirrors. They're not Norge mirrors. So they were asking for a Norge mirror, they were getting a Norge mirror, and these are Stelvio. And I don't know whether that's part of the PDI got it wrong, if they were building a Stelvio and one of these in the workshop, or whether it actually came out the factory wrong. No idea, don't care. I like these mirrors, I like the way they're positioned, so I wasn't prepared to change them. And I've actually got the spare mirror, they sent me the spare mirror, as it were, and that's now on my Benelli, which it absolutely suits it, it's wonderful. So, oh good, quite happy with that. And that's the only issue which has nothing to do with Motor Guzzi, or Motor Guzzi's abilities, or the machine itself. It's just fantastic. Like I say, I'm really a fan, really a fan. I do like Guzzis anyway. They remind me of Alphas. Everybody that criticises them have never really owned one. And you always get people go, oh, never an Alpha Romeo. They've never owned one. You go, why haven't you owned one? Oh, they rust. They're talking about cars of the 70s, everything rusted. These days Alphas are very, very good. Same with these. They did have issues in the 70s. Everything had problems in the 70s. But people, for some reason, have got this, I don't know whether it's a marketing ploy on the part of all the other manufacturers, but you know, there's this real downer on Guzzi, and to a degree, Ducati, because they're Italian, they make fabulous bikes, absolutely fantastic bikes. I mean, these guys did win various things if you go back, you know, they had a go at the job, and they've won an awful lot of stuff. They're really good bikes. Okay, they may not have moved on in the modern age with, you know, multi-cylinder machines and still just produce the big V twins, but that ain't a bad thing either. It's just, you know, if you've got a good product, why stop making a good product? You know, and I think I like it because of it, really. And like I say, the vast bulk of people who go who don't like Guzzis or whatever have never really owned one. There's been one or two people who have said, oh, I bought a Guzzi, I've been on Hondas all my life, and I bought a Guzzi and I didn't like the shake, and I didn't like this, and I didn't like that, and I wouldn't have another one. Well, that's kind of fair play. I reckon it takes a good month of good hard riding, you know, regular ride, not just to go at the weekends and day in, day out sort of stuff, or a big journey, to get into them and to understand them. Once you've done that, you're hard pressed to not keep with them. You know, it's just one of those things, you know. I suppose you could say that about other marques, but if you get on a Suzuki and paint it in Honda colours and ride it around, and then put somebody on a Honda in Honda colours and ride it around, they'd be hard pressed to know the difference between the two. They are so similar. There is nothing like a Guzzi. Nothing out there like a Guzzi. And it's the same with Ducati. There's nothing like a Ducati. So if you want to be an individual, if you don't want to play the game that everybody else wants to play, and you want to have something that's a little bit off the wall, go get yourself a Guzzi. I don't think you'd regret it. The smaller ones have become a little bit trendy, which kind of upsets me a little bit. You know, it came about with the V7 Sport, and which was a rehash of the V50, really, if you really look at the chassis, and you really look at the drivetrain, and you have yours, it's the old bike. And well, they became a bit of a fashion statement, a bit of a hipster thing. which is fine. You know, they've got to survive in the world, they've got to sell bikes. But if you want to do serious riding over miles and miles and miles, one of these things is the way to go. Like I said, they're just stunningly comfortable. If you want to do big miles, this is the kind of bike. I haven't done big miles on my California yet, which I did a video about. So we'll see if it can match up to my passion for this thing. It is tremendous, and if you've never had one, give one a go. So this is, before I go, again, please press the like or the subscribe, little bell if you want to hear more of my ramblings about pottering around the world on motorbikes. And what I do with the things as I go. I've got very little to say about this after that, because all I do is service it. And that's oil change, filter change, plugs, do the tappets, check all the bushes and lubricate things that need lubricating. After that I do very little, you know, nothing. I don't, better than very little, I do nothing to it, other than ride it and enjoy it. Like I say, there will be more videos. It's a case of either nobody will ever look at another one of these again, or I will get absolutely bored. But I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue doing it. And like I say, the passion for the bikes is not going to go away ever. I don't think. I think until I go in the wooden box, because these, I've been with them now for 50 years, 50 odd years I think I worked out since I bought my first motorbike. That's a long time playing the motorbike. It's a long time knocking around on them, and it's a lot of fun to have with them. You know, I've always enjoyed the fact that when, and all the bikers have confirmed this to me as well, that when you get on a motorbike and you're riding around on your own, you can forget a lot of the problems that you may have, because you've got to concentrate on what you're doing. You're getting sheer pleasure from the business of riding. So they're almost therapeutic. I mean, for me it is. And the best tale I can tell was with this bike. I'd been out for a ride on it on my own, I'd gone off one day just for a run around, and I came, and I was in a really happy place. You know, you get in that happy place, it was really good. Pulled up outside, I came in the house, and I was just pulling my helmet off, just got to about here, and there was this terrible noise, and it was awful, and it was a screeching sound. Where have you been? What are you doing? I've been here, you've been away from here. And I just put my helmet back on, went outside and rode off again. I came back about an hour later, came through the door, took the hat off. Nothing, great, take the hat off. And she came over and said, why did you go out again? I said, well, I was in a really happy place, and I walked into the house and it wasn't happy, so I went back to happy. It's easy, it's a no-brainer, why wouldn't I do that? And she said, I hate you sometimes. Yeah, I know, that much I do know, but it is worth noting that bikes make me happy. I hope they make you happy too. If they don't make you happy like they make me happy, well, you're living the dream. You're living the dream. Okay, that's me on my way. Like I say, push the various likes and subscribes and all that nonsense, and I'll talk to you again soon. This is old guy in shed, signing off.